The auctioneer's voice boomed across the dusty fairground, cutting through the afternoon heat like a whip crack. "And I'll throw in the girl to sweeten the deal." He'd come to buy horses, not participate in what felt uncomfortably close to human trafficking. The girl stood beside the horses, her head held high despite the humiliation. Her clothes were little more than rags, but her dark eyes burned with a defiance that made Thomas's chest tighten. The auctioneer explained she was a half-breed found wandering near the Dakota territories, unclaimed and unwanted. The man who'd brought her in just wanted her gone. Thomas raised his hand almost without thinking. $200 for the horses. He paused, his jaw clenching. She can leave whenever she chooses. The auctioneer shrugged, clearly unconcerned with the distinction, and brought down his gavel. The ride back to his ranch was silent except for the rhythmic clop of hooves. The girl, who finally told him her name was Ayanna, sat stiffly beside him on the wagon seat, her distrust palpable. Thomas didn't blame her. He tried to explain that she was free to go, that he'd give her money for passage anywhere she wanted, but she just stared at the horizon, unresponsive. "I won't force you to stay," he said quietly as they approached his property. "But if you need time to figure out where you want to go, you're welcome here. There's a small cabin out back. It's yours if you want it." Ayanna finally looked at him, studying his face as if searching for deception. "Why?" she asked, her voice rough from disuse. "Because what happened back there was wrong," Thomas replied. "And I won't be part of treating people like livestock." He kept his distance. His ranch was struggling. A drought had devastated his cattle operation, debts were mounting, and he was facing the real possibility of losing everything his father had built. But he couldn't bring himself to burden Ayanna with his problems. She had enough of her own. 3 weeks passed before she spoke to him again. Thomas was attempting to repair a section of fence when she appeared beside him, silent as a shadow. "Your cattle are sick," she said flatly. "The ones by the northern creek." He'd noticed some of them acting lethargic, but he'd attributed it to the heat and poor grazing. "How do you know?" "I know," she said, "and I know how to help them. If you'll let me." Desperate and out of options, Thomas followed her to the northern pasture. "Poison kills cattle, kills people who drink their milk. You need to move them immediately and burn these plants." For the next several days, Ayanna worked alongside Thomas with a knowledge that astounded him. She identified which cattle were too sick to save and which could recover. She showed him herbs that would help purge the poison from their systems, plants he'd walked past 1,000 times without recognizing their value. She taught him to read the land the way her mother had taught her, to see patterns in nature that white ranchers often missed. "Where did you learn all this?" Thomas asked one evening as they watched over the recovering herd. "My father was a trapper who abandoned us when I was young. After my mother died, I had nowhere to go. I've been surviving on my own for 2 years. They saw a half-breed girl with no value. I'm sorry for what's been done to you. And I'm grateful you chose to stay and help me, despite having every reason to leave." As autumn approached, the cattle recovered, stronger than before. Ayanna had done more than save his herd. She'd taught Thomas to manage his land in harmony with nature rather than fighting against it. Which plants indicated good soil and which warned of problems beneath the surface. The ranch began to thrive in ways it never had under his father's management. Word spread about Thomas's healthy cattle, and buyers came from 3 counties over. The debts that had threatened to crush him were paid off, and for the first time in years, he felt hope for the future. One evening, as they sat on his porch watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of fire, Thomas turned to Ayanna. "This ranch, everything I have, exists because of you." "Why?" Ayanna was quiet for a long moment. "You gave me a choice when no one else would. That's worth more than you know." She smiled, a rare expression that transformed her face. "Besides, someone needed to keep you from poisoning your entire herd." Thomas laughed, then grew serious. "I'd like you to stay, not as someone who works here, but as a partner. This ranch belongs to both of us now." They shook hands as equals, sealing a partnership built on mutual respect and unexpected salvation. The girl they'd thrown in free with 2 horses had saved everything Thomas had. But more than that, she'd shown him that true value lies not in what society deems worthy, but in the knowledge, dignity, and strength that every person carries within them, waiting only for someone willing to see it.